It's not that fun to watch the same game every single day. It feels like for 2.5 weeks, we've watched the same game every day. The good news is that game is always dramatic. Like they're in every single game.
San Francisco Giants, who are still having a good season. The pitching is fantastic. But man, that hitting is a little tough to watch. I imagine, and I'm not asking you to be Mr. Negative right away, but I imagine it's a little tough to broadcast. I know you inject in whatever you can about this is still a good season, but how is just this recent run? We know they don't score more than 4 runs now for like a record or however many times dating way back. They haven't scored more than 4 runs in a long time. What's that attitude been? What's the mood been? What's it like to be around a team that we know is still pretty good, but is having such a difficult time scoring runs?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this: being around the team is fine. The team is in good spirits, all things considered. And I give them credit for that. I don't know if Bob Melvin deserves the credit or Logan Webb and some of the Adames and Chapman, but the team is fine. I think they really do believe, hey, this is just a blip and we're going to be good. And I tend to agree with them. Look, it's not that fun to watch the same game every single day. It feels like for 2.5 weeks, we've watched the same game every day. The good news is that game is always dramatic. Like they're in every single game. So from just a pure drama standpoint, I think our broadcasts and our games still hold interest because it's like, okay, they're going to get it's going to happen. And they've won, they've played 500 ball through all this, which is astonishing. A lot of teams would have gone in these 15 games. A lot of teams would have gone 3-12. And so the fact that they haven't let that happen, has to be considered, I think, a good sign. But I've run out of ways to say they threaten, but they do not score. Whatever. I've just and even walking out last night, somebody was saying, now they're updating the runners in scoring position number. They're 6 for their last 70 or whatever it is, and I was like, I've stopped giving all those numbers. Everybody knows. Anybody who cares even just a smidge about this team knows what's going on. So in a way, it kind of frees you up. I don't obsess over that stuff at all because I don't have to tell that to the audience. They all know.
Okay, so where is the sign of optimism? What's the hitter or two, or you're looking at? And we could go through the whole lineup, and nobody's hitting right now. There have been hot spots previously, but nobody's hitting right now. Where are the guys you're looking at? Is it Adames? Is it Chapman? The 2 guys are making the most, or are there other places in the lineup, other hitters maybe who have not gotten as many at bats that you're saying, okay, when they do it, when they break out, and however they do it, this is going to be like the guys they're doing it with?
Yeah, I mean, look, they need it to be Adames and Chapman. Those have to be the guys. Whether you want Chapman, there's signs of optimism. Called at the ball every time he hit it and had nothing to show for it. Sometimes that happens. It happened to more than just Chapman over the last few games of the road trip. So, I mean, there have been some positive signs, like, better at bats without getting the results. They need a lot more from Adames. Elliot Ramos is a huge positive. Elliot's been really good, really good. And so I think you can kind of hang your hat on, hey, maybe they have a player that they can sort of count on for the next many years to be a part of that offense. They need more from Jung-Hoo Lee. Jung-Hoo Lee's going through that adjustment period where he was awesome early. And if you watch these games, it's like they're just pitching him away, just relentlessly. And he's got early in the year, he had a way to beat that. And right now he's not beating that. So he's got to kind of adjust back to how teams are attacking him. I have a lot of faith that he's going to do that. I think Jung-Hoo Lee is going to be an important part of this team for a long time to come. Other than that, I mean, look, it's just a fact that there isn't a lot of reason. Not that you can't be optimistic about the future, but there are not a lot of signs like in the last few days of, oh, this guy's turned it around or this guy's turned it around. Those signs just haven't popped up yet.
It was striking to me that Jung-Hoo Lee, he's not a power hitter. We know he can hit home runs or have them taken away at the fence in Miami. But he is a kind of, a singles to doubles hitter who is dead pull. Like, that is weird a little bit, right? Like, he just does not go. And then, he gets the single last night because he just hits it to where the shortstop should be, because the shortstop's lining up behind second base. That's a weird combination, right? Usually those guys can go the other way, and he just doesn't do it very often.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's a really good observation. He built a lot of his offseason work around trying to get away from what you're talking about. And if you think back to the early weeks of the year when he was red hot, there were a lot of line drives into left center field, center field. He's got that weird open stance. And sometimes, he started it even more open this year with the idea of like start open and close as you stride. So like prevent the big fly out, open up and roll over to the right side.
Yeah.
So that he's deliberately gone out of his way to try to combat that. We're just not seeing him do that right now. And so I think whether that's a mechanical adjustment or what, you're absolutely right. He has got to be a guy who uses left field and center field. When he's going that way recently, it's pop-ups and fly balls. There's got to be a line drive approach the other way, and he's more than capable of doing it. I remind myself all the time that he's still so inexperienced at this level. He's got 300 total major league at bats. I don't think even that. It's just you just got to give him some time to work this stuff out. He's seeing new pitchers almost every day. He's facing somebody that he's never faced before. He's playing in ballparks that he's never played in before. So I'm all of us have to be patient with him, but that must be a part of his future success, the ability to use his speed. And if he's not going to be a home run hitter, he can hit some home runs, but he's not going to be a home run hitter. So he's got to be able to do that.
A guy you and I both know very well, way better than I do, Buster Posey, has said, be patient. And I guess when he was asked specifically about Adames, I think that is going to be the message. It continues. We know Buster Posey is not an impulsive guy, wasn't as a player. I can't believe he would be as the president. I think that is a fine thing. What are they going to do? Try to make 7 trades? No, you can't do that. But they do have excess starting pitching, and not many teams do. David, would you think that they're going to trade a young pitcher, or would you just say, you know what, you never can have enough? There's going to be. They've already had injuries to Verlander. You don't know if all these guys are going to pan out. Hold on to your young pitching while you can, and don't make a urgent trade. I won't say desperate, urgent trade. Where do you think they're going to land on this coming up on the deadline?
Well, I have no doubt they're going to be willing to consider it. No doubt. I mean, they are willing to consider trading even some of their most talented young pitchers. They are, because they know that this team is deficient, not just right now, but going forward. You have Bryce Eldridge looming, and other than that, there aren't a whole lineup of position player prospects who are ready to go. They have a lot of good things actually are happening in the lower levels of the minor leagues for the Giants right now. It's been kind of a hidden positive that we don't pay that much attention to at our level, but is definitely happening. And that's good news, but that's not an immediate solution or even really a short-term solution. So yeah, they're going to be willing to consider it. The problem is, so many of these front offices, and look, the Giants' previous front office was like this, like so risk averse and so unwilling to make a big, bold move, willing to make moves on the margins and tinker with rosters. But teams right now, there are very few. So you got to find a willing trade partner if you're doing that. The other thing is, I don't think the Giants are interested in trading any of those really talented guys for just a stopgap, or even if it's a really high level stopgap. I don't think they're willing to do that. So I think that in their minds, they're probably thinking, strength and strength. Can we match up with a team that really needs some young pitching, that has some young position player, talent, and see if they can find a match that way?
That's interesting because, if they had, let's say they had kept Farhan Zaidi this season, they didn't, but let's say they did. I think he would have been under obviously incredible pressure all season. Even winning like this, there would have been pressure because it would have been coming on the end of his contract. Who knows what? I think that's part of the reason why they made the move, is because what pressure? Where would he have gone this season? And with Buster, I felt like he's got some runway, but he only signed a 3-year deal. It's not like he said, I'm going to do this for 20 years. We don't know. Do you think Buster is feeling, I wouldn't say pressure. It's not pressure. He's part of the ownership group. So I don't know if there's any set of hot seat for this guy, but is there like, we got to do it this year. Like, let's make the move. Or is it more strategic? Like, because the playoff berth is there this year, let's go try to get it.
Well, I would say this in a weird way, there's a lot less pressure and a lot more urgency
Mm.
now. I think before there was a weird mix of pressure, outside pressure, internal pressure, roster pressure, all kinds of stuff, without the feeling of like let's go out and really do something about this. And I think now it's almost the opposite,
Mm.
where Buster's going to be in this job for, I don't want to say as long as he wants to be, but Buster's got the full confidence of everybody in the organization. And I think has done a really good job already adjusting to this new role. But I think he is very much of the mind of that this is not a wait and see. This isn't a slow build. This isn't anything other than my expectation level is to win and win now. And his job is to put together a winning team now. I mean, I think he does share that. That was, that to me, that was Brian Sabian's, philosophy was, what are you talking about? Like, no, every year is a go for it year.
Mhm.
Every year is an opportunity to make your team better now. Like that's the whole goal is let's win as many games as we can now. And I think for Buster, he shares that sentiment and the people around him do. So the sense that I get, not being in that room every night, but just talking to those folks is that they're not satisfied with, oh, this has been a nice start. And I don't think that's the case at all. I think what the reality is that they want to make this team better sooner rather than later. And they're going to be proactive in doing that.
The way I can look at it is, you have this pitching staff, and that could be dangerous in a playoff series. I mean, maybe not dominant, although that bullpen can be pretty dominant. You get a 1-run lead going to 6, I think you're feeling pretty good. Reminds me of some, classic back end, playoff teams. The Royals are always the one that come up. The Giants are pretty damn good in 3 championships, that's for sure. Does it remind you like of 2009? Again, take whatever they did in 10 and 12 and 14 maybe out of it, but just kind of this, you've got some pitching. Now you're just like, what are we going to do to not waste Lincecum, Kane, Bumgarner coming up? Where are we going to go with this? I'm not the first one who's brought this, maybe some comparisons to 2009, but are you feeling some of that?
Well, I think there is a comparison. I just don't know. Like 2009, you had Buster looming in the background as like, okay, we and maybe Bryce Eldridge is that guy for this franchise. Maybe, Bryce is going to be here at some point. I don't know if that's going to be before the end of the year or at the start of next year or what, but maybe they have enough confidence in him that he can sort of be that anchor. I think in 2009, I mean, Pablo was emerging as a guy who you thought, okay, that could be a middle of the order type. But they need that's what they need more than anything else is they need an anchor in the middle of that offense. They know it. We all know it. 2009, you probably could say that too. So is there a feeling of like wasting the pitching? I don't know if it's that, but I think there is definitely a feeling of we need more offense on this big league roster. How do we get that? Whether it's from our own franchise, our own players, or whether it's from the outside. And you look back on 2010, 12, and 14, there were lots of role players from the outside, but there never was a big, they tried to do it with Beltran. That would be, 2011 right now feels a lot like this year, where you're leading the league in almost every pitching category. And, in the last, month, at least the offense just is way down towards the bottom. That it almost feels like that, where you didn't have Buster, you didn't have that guy in the middle, and you've got this great pitching. And there is a feeling of, if we can just get there, I know the Giants believe if they get to the playoffs, they can be a threat to win it all.